Imagine waking up to the news that $1 billion has just vanished overnight. How could such a staggering amount disappear? In the heart of a bustling city lay a fortress of finance, a major international bank renowned for its impregnable security and monumental transactions. The day before the heist unfolded like any other, with the morning rush of suited professionals and the clinking of coffee cups. High above, the unblinking eyes of security cameras surveyed the marble lobby, while guards paced with practiced vigilance. This bank, a titan in the financial world, boasted a vault that was more akin to a modern-day castle. Thick steel doors, biometric scanners, and an army of the best security personnel money could buy. It was the epitome of safety. The public and the employees alike believed in the invulnerability of their fortress. But as night fell, an audacious plan was set into motion that would shock the world. Scene script. Behind every great heist, there's a mastermind, or in this case, a group of them. At the heart of this audacious plan were individuals who seemed plucked from a high-stakes thriller, a blend of the finest minds in cybercrime and the most cunning figures from the criminal underworld. First, meet the hackers. A trio of tech geniuses who could dance through digital security like it was child's play. Their leader, known only as Cypher, was a shadow in the digital world, with a mind sharp enough to outwit any cybersecurity. Alongside him were Photon, an expert in surveillance systems, and Ghost, a wizard at manipulating digital footprints. Then there were the seasoned criminals, each with a history that read like a rap sheet from a detective's novel. The planner, a master strategist who could orchestrate complex operations with military precision. Muscle, a towering figure whose mere presence could intimidate the most secure of guards. And the insider, a former bank employee turned rogue, who knew the inner workings of their target like the back of his hand. Over months, this eclectic crew mapped out every inch of their target, the largest bank in the city. Night after night, they pored over blueprints, surveillance footage, and digital vulnerabilities. Each member of the team had a role. Each move was calculated. The hackers infiltrated the bank's security system, laying the groundwork for what would be a night to remember. With roles assigned and every detail scrutinized, the group was ready to make history. On a seemingly quiet night, the perfect storm was brewing right under the noses of millions. As the city slept, a group of highly skilled robbers approached the grand facade of the world's largest bank. With precision that could only come from meticulous planning and rehearsals, they slipped through the shadows undetected. The bank, a fortress during the day, was vulnerable at night, relying heavily on its sophisticated security system. But tonight, even the most advanced technologies would prove inadequate. The robbers, armed with state-of-the-art equipment, disabled the security cameras one by one. Each click of their devices marked a step closer to their audacious goal. As they moved deeper into the bank, the air grew tense. The slightest mistake could trigger an alarm, bringing their grand scheme to a swift end. They communicated with subtle gestures, their actions synchronized like a well-rehearsed dance troupe. The vault, the heart of the bank, was now just a few guarded steps away. Reaching the vault was a feat in itself, but opening it required a masterstroke. One of the robbers, an expert in electronic security systems, attached a device to the vault's keypad. Seconds felt like hours, as they waited in bated breath for the device to decode the system. With a soft beep, the vault unlocked, revealing rows upon rows of currency notes and gold bars, a treasure trove that they had risked everything for. They filled their bags with as much as they could carry, always aware of the time ticking away. Their movements were swift but careful, ensuring nothing was left behind to suggest their identities. As they retraced their steps, exiting the bank was just as calculated as entering it. With the loot in hand, they disappeared into the night, leaving behind a bank breached but silent, its alarms as quiet as the city around it. In less than an hour, the unthinkable had been done and the robbers vanished into the darkness. As dawn broke, the heist's sheer scale began to dawn on the world. Inside the bank, a scene of disarray unfolded. Vault doors ajar and security alarms still echoing in the background painted a picture of urgency and chaos. The once impenetrable safes, now empty, stood as silent witnesses to the audacity of the crime. Bank staff, caught between disbelief and distress, navigated through the remnants of what had been a fortress of finance just hours before. Outside, the arrival of the police was swift. Sirens cut through the early morning calm as law enforcement descended upon the scene. Officers cordoned off the area, their faces set in grim determination, while forensic experts began their meticulous search for clues. Every fingerprint and every stray fiber became a potential key to unlocking the mystery of the perpetrators' identities. Meanwhile, the story exploded across global news networks. Headlines screamed of the audacity of the robbery, with live feeds showing the chaos at the scene and reporters clamoring for any shred of information. The public watched, captivated and horrified in equal measure. Some expressed shock at the brazenness of the crime, while others couldn't help but be fascinated by the precision and planning it must have taken. As speculation swirled and theories multiplied, the authorities found themselves at the center of a whirlwind. Despite the gathering of evidence and the piecing together of timelines, the puzzle remained incomplete. Authorities were left grappling with more questions than answers. Catching a ghost was never going to be easy, especially those who just pulled off the largest heist in history. As the dust settled on the chaos of the robbery, a sprawling web of law enforcement agencies across the globe sprang into action. This was not merely a local crime, it was a meticulously orchestrated offense that spanned continents, necessitating an unprecedented level of cooperation among various countries' law enforcement. Interpol issued red notices, while the FBI, Europol, and several other national agencies pooled their resources, expertise, and intelligence. The manhunt was a testament to international solidarity in the face of brazen criminal audacity. Teams were set up, focusing on forensic analysis of the crime scene, tracing the digital footprints left behind, and following the money trail that seemed as complex as a labyrinth. Leads were pursued with a sense of urgency, from grainy CCTV footage in nearby locales to high-stakes financial transactions across the globe. Every piece of evidence was scrutinized. Yet each clue seemed to only lead to more questions. Several promising leads turned into frustrating dead ends. Suspects were detained, interrogated, and often released when alibis held or evidence waned. The complexity of the crime was mirrored in the complexity of the investigation. With every passing day, the robbers' shadows seemed to grow fainter. But despite the mounting challenges and the fading traces, the coalition of forces remained undeterred. As the days turned into weeks, hope waned, but the search pressed on. Every criminal leaves a trace, no matter how small. In the labyrinthine tale of the world's largest bank robbery, it was an oversight as minute as a forgotten glove that began to unravel the mystery. As the investigators sifted through the debris of the crime scene, a glove, smeared with traces of DNA, was found tucked behind a stack of emptied safety deposit boxes. It was a simple mistake, yet one that would pivot the entire investigation. As forensic experts worked tirelessly to extract viable DNA from the glove, detectives began to connect the dots. They revisited hours of security footage, pieced together witness testimonies, and cross-referenced the newfound genetic fingerprint with national databases. It wasn't long before a match flickered onto their screens, a small-time criminal previously arrested for minor thefts, whose profile had barely caught the eye of national agencies. With a name and a face, the authorities dug deeper. They unearthed networks, associates, and eventually the whereabouts of the other members of the gang. Each clue led to another, sketching a map that traced back to a meticulously planned operation involving individuals from diverse backgrounds, each with unique skills that contributed to the heist's initial success. The pursuit intensified, with law enforcement agencies coordinating across borders. Leads that had once hit dead ends were now bursting open, revealing paths that guided the authorities ever closer to their quarry. Surveillance was heightened, and strategic raids were set in motion. The net was closing in, and time was running out for the robbers. The largest bank robbery in the world wasn't just about the money. It was a statement. Let's take a moment to reflect on the journey through this audacious heist that shook the foundations of global financial security. The planning was meticulous. And the execution, executed under the cloak of darkness, was nothing short of cinematic. The aftermath revealed a world unprepared for such a breach, and as the dust settled, the reality of the stolen millions began to sink in. The authorities launched a manhunt of unprecedented scale. With every passing day, the net tightened around the culprits, leading to a dramatic unraveling of their master plan. The robbers, though clever, were not infallible. One by one they were apprehended, their dreams of grandeur crumbling under the weight of justice. In the wake of their capture, the stolen money slowly but surely found its way back to the vaults from which it had been so boldly taken. This event, however, was a catalyst for change. Banks worldwide overhauled their security systems, introducing new technologies and protocols designed to thwart any such attempts in the future. The heist not only changed the way banks operated, but also how they are perceived. While the physical scars have healed, the psychological impact of the heist continues to resonate across the globe. The audacity of the robbers, the vulnerability of the banks, and the relentless pursuit by law enforcement remind us that sometimes reality can be as thrilling and as dramatic as any fiction.